Well, thank you for coming today. This is our presentation that we try to do every year to try and help people that are planning to do an Expo booth. We want people to get the most out of those, so we want to give you some tips and tricks on how to do that. My name is Michael McGovern. I'm with Stonebridge Financial Group, but I'm also on the board of directors for the Chamber, and I'm on the committee for the Expo. So we started this about 10 years ago with the idea that a lot of people were putting in a booth at the Expo, but didn't really feel like they knew what they were getting out of that. So what we decided to do was to start presenting to give people some ideas of things to think about before you even get to the Expo. Because the biggest rule or the most successful opportunity you have is to plan ahead for the Expo so that you know what you're getting yourself into when you get there. If you wait until the last minute and then you start doing your planning, you may be wasting your time. So we'll just kind of go through this and we'll talk through some things today. If you've got some questions, just let me know and I'll try to answer those as we go along. So I always start with, we've got to begin with the end in mind. Just like anything you ever do when you're trying to do any planning, any goals, or anything like that, we want to begin with the end in mind. So really what that comes down to is, what are you trying to accomplish? What's your goal for going to the Expo? Is it that you're trying to get some traffic to your location? If you're a storefront or a bank or a restaurant, your goal is to drive traffic into your location. So what can you do at the Expo to give to people that will bring them to your location? In that sense, you want to bring them something. You want to have an enticement that brings them to your location. Are you just trying to get a list of names and addresses or email addresses? If you're trying to gather email addresses so you can put people on your newsletter so they're more familiar with what your company is, then let's figure out a way that we can gather email addresses. If your goal is to just get out in the community and have people recognize that you're there and you're supporting the community and you're supporting the Expo, fantastic. Really, you want to try and begin with that end in mind and try to come up with what is it that you want to accomplish. When you leave at the end of the day from the Expo, what are you hoping to walk away from there? That's really what we want people to think about before you even start that process. If you can think about what success means at the end of the day, then you can put hard numbers on whether you were successful or not when you walk out of there. Does that make sense? So, one of the best things to do is to do a drawing. You're going to get people, you're going to attract people to your booth. I always joke in the beginning, it's almost like adult trick-or-treating. There's people running through there trying to get free stuff as much as they can. And since I'm bringing that up, we've kind of set up a table here of what it kind of looks like for an Expo table. Now I'm just going to warn you, if it's on your table, it's fair game. They may likely take this. So here's my coffee mug that I brought in this morning. That could be gone if I turn my back. So just be aware, anything that's on the table is fair game. People will take it. Here's my mouse for my computer. That very likely could disappear if I don't keep it out of the way. Usually the bigger stuff, people know you're doing a drawing for it. This probably would be fine, but the baseball cap is going to be gone. Somebody's going to take that. Here's the other thing. The more of those you have out there, the more risk you have of people taking them. Same thing goes with a bowl of candy. If you've got a bowl of candy here and it's filled to the brim, they're going to come up and grab a handful. If it's half full, they'll grab one or two. I don't know why that works that way, but it's just psychology. That's the way it works. Now, if you don't care about giving away your free stuff, that's fine. Put it out there. The stuff that you want to give away for free, you want everybody to take it, put it out there. A lot of times we'll have nicer prizes that we want to reserve for our current customers. So we'll keep those in the back, and if we see our current customer, we might go grab one of them. I don't know if you're giving away $50 Yetis or not, but if you've got good customers and you've got a few Yetis to give out and you recognize one of your customers that comes up, then you can do that and reach in the back and grab one of those. All right? You can decide if you want to give away one drawing and do a drawing for that one big prize, or you can give free stuff to everybody. I've seen restaurants where they do free appetizer if you come into the restaurant after the Expo. You're getting them in the door. Likely they're not coming in there for a free appetizer and leaving. They're going to spend more money there. So think about what it is you want to accomplish as you're trying to go through this process. You can decide what it is, what you're trying to accomplish, and that's the key thing. And I think everybody that walks out of there with a plan for what they're going to do when it's all over is really going to be the most successful. If you are collecting email addresses, one of the things that I encourage people to do is have your email already ready to go, written, so that on Monday or even on Saturday afternoon, you can take all those email addresses and send them a thank you email for stopping by your booth. Hey, thank you for stopping by the booth today. We had a great time at the Expo. Appreciate you stopping by. If you are interested, we have a special going on X, Y, and Z. Feel free to reach out to us or stop in. Boom, send. If you send that out within 48 hours of the Expo, you will have better success. Doesn't guarantee you're going to get business, but at least gives you a better opportunity to try and pick up some of those people as clients. All right, so let's keep going here. So we've got an idea of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. The other trick I have is if you have a good conversation with somebody and you're doing a drawing, if you've had a great conversation with somebody and you want to know who that person is so you can follow up with them right away, I usually have drawing slips in the back that have a little yellow dot on them from a highlighter. And I hand them out to them and say, hey, we're doing a drawing here for a $50 gift card to whatever. Fill that out, you might be able to win. Now, there's no guarantee they're going to win, but at least you know when you go through those slips later on, the ones that have the yellow mark on the back are the ones that you're going to want to contact first. So little tricks and ideas there. Setting your expectations. So why are people attending expos? Some of them are there just for free stuff. And I imagine they get home, it's like trick-or-treating as a kid. You get home and you dump the bag on the counter and you go, I'm keeping this and this and this, and this is all going in the recycling. Don't bring a ton of papers. People are going to recycle them. They're not likely going to read them. The better way to do it is to have them there, have them available so people can see them. If they're interested, you can give them one, or you can always say, hey, I'll email one out to you if you want to give me your email address. If that's what your goal is collect that email address. If you bring in, and I've done it, I'm guilty of it, I went to a trade show and I brought in 3 boxes of paperwork, and I took 3 boxes of paperwork back out with me. People don't take it. And if they do, it's just going in the recycling bin anyway. So try not to bring too much. It just is not a great use of your time or money in that case. Who are you targeting at the show? Are you trying to upsell your current customers? Are you trying to pick up new customers? What is it that you want people to do? What do you want them to do? The other thing I always talk to my staff about when we're doing one of these is give them some questions that they can ask. Give them some things that they can ask to customers or potential customers that will entice them to come in and have a further conversation. Because the problem we all have is we have a 10 by 10 space. That's all we have. And if you don't bring customers in, you're not going to have any conversations with them. Part of that problem, and I've seen this time and time again, is people set their table up in the back of their booth, and then they sit behind it and wait for people to come to them. You're missing an opportunity when you're doing that. I encourage everybody to walk out to the edge of their booth, stand out here and talk to people out here. Just gives you a better opportunity to bring them in and engage them in a conversation. Most people walk around with their heads down. They'll look up for a second to see what your booth is, see what you got for free, and then head's going back down. They don't want to engage because they're afraid you're going to sell them something. So keep that in mind as one of your goals is to sell at the Expo. It's usually obvious if somebody's selling. If somebody's got all of their wares out on the table, they're obviously selling. If you are an insurance agent, hopefully you're not trying to sell people there. You're not taking quotes for life insurance while they're standing there right there. Maybe you are, I don't know. All right, so we've talked about what your goals are. Is your goal to get 3 new customers? Doesn't sound like much, but in an expo, that might be the right goal for you, community expo. If you're at the home and garden show and your focus is landscaping, I'm hoping you're going to get more than 3 customers. Your goal is to get a lot more than that. Set those expectations so that you know. How many customers will it take for you to break even on that expo? The cost of the time and the financial investment and everything you've put into it, what do you need to get out of that to make it worth your while? Those are important to understand in that as well. All right, let's keep it moving along here. One of my favorites is pre-show promotion. Who's promoting the expo? The chamber? Who should promote the expo? Everybody. Exactly. If you're going to the expo, why wouldn't you put it in your email signature? Why wouldn't you put it on your Facebook page? Why wouldn't you advertise that you're going there? Number one, it gives you goodwill. The community knows that you're supporting the community, and they know you're going to be there. Hey, check us out. We're going to be at the Expo on March 17th. We're going to be at booth number 62 in the gym. Please stop by. If you stop by, maybe we'll give you a little something special. Give a little teaser out there and have something special for anybody that says, hey, I saw your Facebook post, and you said if I mentioned that, I'd get something special. Then you know, did people pay attention to your Facebook post? Then you know how many people are actually watching your Facebook post. So those are important things to do. So promote it yourself. I said email signature is the easiest. Put it in your email signature. Put it right in there and just let people know, hey, we're going to be there. The chamber will advertise the heck out of the expo and try and get people there. But you also have to do some of that too, because you're trying to draw in customers. Your customers that are already customers of yours may not be customers of somebody else's, and vice versa. If their customers come because they invited them and they go see your business, maybe they'll come to your business and need your services as well. All kinds of ways you can do promotion ahead of time. A lot of the information is in this handout. I don't want to go through it line by line. One of the other things that we talk about in pre-show promotion is order ahead. If you need a tablecloth, if you need signs, make sure you give yourself enough time to order that. How long does it typically take to turn around something like that?
Design to production, 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so 2 to 3 weeks minimum for a tablecloth. Something like this is probably a little longer, maybe a month? No? Easy to do. If you're going to go to expos, you're going to do trade shows, tablecloth is a great opportunity. It just looks tacky when you've got a table there with no tablecloth on it. It just doesn't look professional. These are, what are they running now? I don't even know, $250? $250. But if you use it several times, it's worth the investment, okay? There's a lot of different signs. I've seen people even make up their own and put it together with PVC pipe and hang curtain on there. Whatever, something that's gonna make you look professional. Don't look too tacky though. Don't try to do too much yourself. By the time you put all that money and effort into the PVC pipe and the stands and everything, you could have bought one of these. Just buy one. Especially if you know you're gonna do these on a regular basis. That's the key thing. So make sure that you look professional. Make sure that people can look at you and know that you're a true business. Here's the other thing about signage. Does your signage tell what your business is? When you look at this tablecloth, it says Boisseau Insurance Agency, Life, Health, and Retirement Planning. Do we know what they do? Absolutely. I've seen people say, Carl's. Well, what do you do, Carl? I have no idea. If I don't know what you do, your signage was worthless to me. So make sure that your signage can grab their attention and it knows what you do. The other thing that I like to do, because people will walk right by your booth, even though they might be interested in you, your goal is to get them to stop. If you can get them to stop and engage them in a conversation, you have a better chance of picking up their business. I like to put a sign right out at the edge of the booth, something that's a unique point, something that people would look at and read and go, I did not know that. Or is that really true? Or a trivia question that they go, all right, I know what the answer is. Okay, what's the answer? If you tell me, I'll give you a notepad or whatever. Get them engaged. Have that conversation with them. That's the key thing, is to have those conversations. If you're not having conversations, you're not picking up any new business. The opportunity is gone, okay? All right, let's move on. Here's a really important one, and I mentioned it before. If you're not training your staff ahead of time, they have no idea why they're there. They're there because you're paying them. We want to pay them to help you engage customers and get new clients. If you're not telling them what your expectations are, if you're not giving them some questions to ask people, if you're not giving them conversations that they can steer, it's not going to be successful for you. You've got to make sure that your staff knows why you're there. You've got to make sure your staff understands what your goal is at the end of the day. Do we want to get names in the drawing? Do we want to get email addresses? Do we want to pick up new business? What are your goals? Make sure the staff understands that and it's very clear to them. I always say 3 to 5 talking points is probably good. More than that, you're just going to confuse them and make it harder for them. The other thing we as humans have a hard time doing, just be quiet sometimes. Ask the question and let people talk to you. Let them talk to you, because if they've stopped, they're obviously interested. If I'm stopping in front of a bank, usually it means I'm not 100% happy with the bank I'm working with. I'm interested in what the other bank has. Or maybe you have a better rate than they do on 12-month CD. If that's what you're best at, put that out there and let people know. They'll stop, they'll talk to you about it. You don't know if that 12-month CD is going to make them a new customer for a full relationship. So we just have to understand what it is we're trying to do. Make sure you give your staff plenty of breaks. They don't need, for an expo, we're there from 9 to 2? We're there for 5 hours. Probably one break in the middle is all you need. Please don't have them chewing gum while you're standing out there. It looks really bad while you're talking to somebody. They're going to need breaks. Let them go, take a break, get something to drink, walk away. You got to stretch. If you're on that hard floor for 5 hours, trust me, your legs hurt, your back hurts. I love it when people bring in carpeting or a rubber pad, 10 by 10, lay it down. I can go stand in that booth all day long. It's just nice and comfortable. So just think about these things. If you're going to do more of these trade shows, I encourage that. Those are really helpful. Again, don't let them sit behind the table. If they're sitting behind the table, they're not doing anything. I won't name the business, but a couple of years ago, I remember going by a table at an expo, and it must have been a kid that was just brought in. He worked for the company. Came in, sat down at the table, laid his head down and fell asleep. He slept for almost 2 hours. And there's the company name. It looked bad for the company, I think, but he must have had a rough night the night before and was told he had to go. He was out cold for 2 hours. I don't think he picked up a whole lot of business in those 2 hours. So make sure that you know who's going to be there for you. Okay, so train the staff. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of things you can do. We talked about display and setup. It should look professional. You'll walk around as you go to these trade shows. You'll see some that are tacky. If it looks tacky to you, don't do it at yours. Usually you can see the professional ones. And that's the key, is to make sure that you're looking professional and people know what your business is. Grab their attention. Make sure they see it. The signs they're going to see are eye level and down here. And the reason why they're going to see the ones down here is because they're walking around with their head down because they don't want to make eye contact with you. So they see the sign down here. Oh, I might be interested in that business. Then they look up. Oh, yeah, okay. Now I see your sign. I see what you do. So take the time to plan that out. Make sure people understand what you're doing. But at the same time, don't overdo it. I've seen people, they have 7 signs up there, and they're all over the place. I don't know what they even do. It gets really confusing at that point. Have fun. Have fun with it. It's exhausting. These shows are very tiring. Anyone that you go to. Take breaks. Make sure you're having fun. And make sure that you're sending that positive energy towards your potential customers. If you're depressed, if you're sad, if you're tired, whatever, if you're sitting back here, I've seen it all the time. People sitting back here on their phone, I'm just do the work. They're not even engaged. They're not paying attention. Why are you here? This means I'm not interested in you. I just heard an article about when you sit down at the dinner table with your family, don't bring your phone with you. Don't even have it in your pocket. Put it over somewhere else. Otherwise, every time that phone goes off, you're thinking that's more important than the conversation I'm having with my family. And it's the same in business. If you're having a meeting with somebody, put your phone on the side. Don't bring it in. If you have to have it there for emergencies, fine. But try to not let that become the focus of why you're there. Keep it clean. Keep your booth looking good. A lot of them will deliver lunches to you. If your lunch box is still sitting here after you've eaten it, it just looks cluttered. Go eat somewhere else. Take your break. Get out of there. I don't even having this stuff up here, my glasses case, may not look professional. There's room underneath. Throw stuff underneath there. So there's so many things you can do with displays now and backdrops and tablecloths. And we've got businesses within the chamber that can help you with all of that. They're not expensive, and it's really worth your time and effort if you're going to do this. All right, lead follow-up. Lead follow-up. I know this is the last one, but really it's the most important. 73% of trade show leads are never followed up on. These are actual leads. These are leads you got from going to the show. 73% are never even contacted. That's crazy. Why did you waste your time going there if you're not going to follow up on them? That's why I said it's important to know when you're done, what are we going to do with the opportunities we have? How soon are we going to call them? Again, I'm guilty of it. I did a drawing, collected all these names, had them in a rubber band, went home, went into the office on Monday, set them on the desk, didn't call them. Pretty soon, it's been 2 weeks, I still haven't called them. They're not even going to know who I am if I call them now. I wasted my time and my money. Make sure you know what you're going to do with those leads, those opportunities you have. You've got to follow up on them. If you follow up on them first, people will remember that. I've had people tell me there was a gentleman who had a window washing business. They sent a picture out to all of their people that stopped by their booth in an email that said, thank you for stopping by our booth. If you'd like us to come out and give you a quote, we'll give you 10% off, or whatever they did. They sent that on Saturday afternoon. People still have heard people still talk about that. The faster you follow up, the better your chance to get the business. If you wait till Monday or Tuesday, you might be the third person that follows up on them. But just look for yourself when you walk around to the booth, to the expo. If you're giving your name out, see how many people actually follow up with you. It's amazing. You will not get the follow-ups that you think. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what people do. Organize them. What's going to be your most effective way to contact them, and block off time. If you know that Monday and Tuesday are going to be follow-up, don't go and book a bunch of other appointments. Don't get distracted with other things. Block off your time and say, this is trade show follow-up. And it might need to be a week. It might need to be a whole week of follow-up. You just have to decide how much time you need to block off for that. That is really the key. So again, in summary, we're trying to say, we want to define success at the expo. What does success mean for me and for my business? Do I need new customers? Am I looking for leads? Is it just goodwill? Whatever it is, define that success, because you'll walk out of there and say, was that worth it to me? And if you can't answer whether that was worth it to you, then you didn't go in with the right plan. What are your goals at the end of the day? Are you looking for awareness, new customers? You want to drive traffic? You want to drive traffic to your website? Whatever it is, there are ways to do that. What's your financial break-even point? How many customers or sales do you need to make it worth your while? Where's your best place to close business? How do you get prospects to do that, to go to that place? Do you need them in your office? Can you do it right there? Do you need 3 more meetings to make those potential people clients? You have to decide what those are. How are you going to communicate your value to prospects? They've got to take that next step and go beyond that initial interaction you had at an expo to be engaged in what you do. They may have some interest, but you've got to convince them that you're the right person. Okay? And what makes you different than the competition? We all have competition out there. Every single one of us. Why would I do business with you, or you, or you? How are you different than everybody else that does the same thing that you do? You've got to be able to clearly identify that, and you've got to be able to build that into your presentation at the expo and tell people, this is what we do, this is how we do it. That's really going to be the key to your success. Does anybody have any questions? I know probably many of you have heard this a million times, so you've heard this presentation and probably could give it just as good as I have, but yes?
What are your suggestions for B2B businesses at the expo?
Okay, good question. So if you want to do some B2B, then what I would suggest is make sure you've got good trained staff so that they can manage your booth. Then you will have time to walk around and talk to other businesses. We have worked on this with the expo committee to try and create a time where we can specifically do B2B. And I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but the goal was to try and take a half an hour before so that everybody in the gymnasium left their booths and went to the cafeteria. And then a half an hour later, all the people in the cafeteria would go to the gymnasium and talk to the people in there. So it gives us an opportunity to switch back and forth. But if you want to do B2B and that's your goal in all of this, make sure that you have somebody good at your booth so you can walk away and go talk to the businesses that you think could benefit from your services. Yeah, question?
Are you able to sell things at the expo?
Yes, there is an area where you can sell things. You need to let the chamber know that ahead of time when you're signing up so they can put you in that specific area. But yes, there is an area where you can actually physically sell. If you're talking products. Now, if you're a business that does insurance and you're trying to get insurance quotes, you're going to have a harder time doing it there. People aren't expecting to get an insurance quote. Maybe they will, who knows, but most of the time, they're not looking for that. You probably have a limited amount of time when people are stopping by your booth. So to try and sell them on something like that, you're better off to gather information on a computer screen, get their name, address, email address, date of birth. Let me run a quote for you and I'll get back to you. But other than that, yes, there is an area in the cafeteria where you can sell. Anything else? Yeah.
How many people do you normally bring from your office to the show?
Good question. It depends on how many people you're going to let have a break at one time. If you've got 1 or 2 people on break, how many do you want to have in your booth? Probably a couple. A lot of places will do 2 people work the morning, 2 people work the afternoon. Just keep in mind that if one of them were to go use the restroom, you only have 1 person there. It's probably enough. I think 2 is enough. If you get too many in the booth, it gets too crowded and then you can't move around. Unless you're a really popular spot. And a lot of times, the things that make you popular are when you have games. If you've got a spinning wheel, if you're doing a miniature golf thing, anything like that, you're going to have a long line. But keep in mind, those long lines are usually kids. Here's the benefit, though. Standing right behind those kids is mom or dad. And that's who you want to talk to. The kid's not going to look at you and want to do business with you. But mom or dad are, and they got to stand there and wait while their kid waits in line to spin the wheel. I did a trade show one time. I think I've told the story every single time I've done this presentation. I did a trade show at the National Golf Show down in Florida. Their convention center goes on for miles. I mean, this is a huge building. We had a booth there, and we had one of those spinning wheels, and we were giving stuff away. We had a line of people to try and come up and do this. It was blocking the booth next to us. And the whole weekend, the guy complained that we were blocking his booth. I said, why don't you talk to some of those people? Maybe one of them would be interested in your product. They're standing there. They have nowhere to go because they're waiting in line. Have a conversation with them. He was mad the whole weekend. I said, you have people standing there. Talk to them. But make the best of everything you can. So.
Say someone has a lot of electronics they need to plug in.
Yep.
Is there power, and what are your suggestions regarding power consumption?
Yep. So we do have power available. You need to put that on the application when you fill that out. Usually the power is around the outer edge of the gymnasium. If you have a splitter, you have more than one thing you want to plug in, I would bring in a bar plug to plug in multiple things. If you're going to suck a lot of power, we had somebody that did AV and set up a bunch of TVs because it happened to be during March Madness. And they set up 6 TVs, and we had different games going on in all 6. He was pulling a lot of power, but if you let us know that, we can plan for that, and we can get you extra power.
What's the biggest takeaway from your presentation that people should know?
I think the biggest takeaway is that people need to understand they're doing an expo for a purpose. What is that purpose? What is it that you want to walk away with? What are you trying to accomplish? If you just go in there blindly, you're going to walk out of there blindly. You might have a whole bowl full of names of people that signed up for your drawing, but what are you going to do with those? If you don't have a plan of what you're trying to do or what your goal is after completing an expo, it's a waste of your time. Don't waste your time. Put the effort in so that you have a plan going into it so you know what you're getting out of it. Again, my name is Michael McGovern. I'm with Stonebridge Financial Group. I am a chamber board director and have been involved with the chamber for probably close to 16 years now. And the reason why we do this every year is we want people to benefit. We want you to get the benefit out of doing the expo. So take the time, put in the best plan that you can so that you can have success. Thanks again.